Welcome to Second Take, the show that takes a look at the issues behind the news. Electricity and Energy Minister Dr. Ramokgopa this week held his first media briefing following the appointment of a Government of National Unity Cabinet. Engineering News and Mining Weekly Deputy Editor Online, Marleny Arnoldi joins me to discuss the key developments. Hi Marleny.
Hi Chanel.
South Africa has gone more than 100 days without load shedding, but the Minister has warned that the distribution industry is facing challenges.
Yes, today South Africa has not had load shedding for a consecutive 107 days, which is more than the amount of days that there was not load shedding in 2023. 2023 had a record 332 days of load shedding since it was first introduced in 2007. The Minister attributed this to Eskom's generation recovery plan, with Eskom having improved the energy availability factor to 61.5% in the year to date, and this compares to energy availability factor of 54.5% this time last year. Eskom also managed to reduce the unplanned capacity loss factor to 27%, with Eskom having recovered between 5,000 and 6,000 megawatts of generation capacity, which is an improvement on the unplanned capacity loss factor of just under 35% this time last year. This has also led to Eskom spending 6.2 billion rand less on diesel expenditure related to open cycle gas turbines compared with the same months of last year, which is a positive improvement. However, the Minister warned that a new energy crisis is emerging on the distribution side. He went as far as to say that the distribution industry is on a path of self-destruction and that the status quo of municipal debt arrears is becoming unsustainable. Municipalities currently have a debt bill of 78 billion rand, which is owed to Eskom. The Minister estimated that it could worsen to as much as 3 trillion rand by 2050 if urgent interventions are not made. This is one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is municipalities are not spending enough money on proper infrastructure maintenance and in a consistent manner, which is increasingly leading to equipment failures and localized power outages. The Minister attributed these problems to financial mismanagement and a lack of planning on the municipalities' part, which is leading to a distribution crisis in many parts of the country. There's the circle effect happening where municipalities are increasing tariffs or requesting tariff increases, which makes the electricity unaffordable for households, particularly poorer households. So the Minister said households are increasingly opting to spend money on food rather than electricity, which in turn leads to even less revenue for the municipalities, revenue that could have been spent on infrastructure maintenance. During the briefing earlier this week, someone in the audience asked the question of why not just switch electricity off to these municipalities that are not paying. And the Minister said while it would be a very quick solution, it would be detrimental if, say, large businesses had no electricity for an undefined period of time.
Power utility Eskom has also announced that it will be implementing load reduction in 7 provinces. What is the difference between load reduction and load shedding, and to what has it attributed this move?
So load reduction is being implemented in Limpopo, the Western Cape, the Eastern Cape, Gauteng, Mpumalanga, Northwest and KZN. Load reduction is implemented to prevent transformers and substations from being damaged and potentially exploding because customer demand exceeds what the equipment is available to handle in certain areas. This is especially true in winter when everyone switches on their heaters, right? There's also the issue of electricity theft, and when electricity is used indiscriminately, it leads to extreme overloading and network failure. This is another problem that municipalities have to deal with. There are currently more than 2,100 transformers that are experiencing frequent overloading across the country and are at risk of being damaged, while 900 odd transformers are awaiting replacement. Eskom's distribution executive Monde Bala, at the same briefing that the Minister spoke at, said that load reduction is a last resort and is only implemented for the shortest possible period after all other options has been exhausted. Load reduction is typically implemented in the peak periods of 5 to 7 in the morning and 5 to 7 at night. Because electricity infrastructure is designed to handle loads based on demand through legally connected customers, and then electricity theft happens, such as equipment theft, meter bypasses, unauthorized network operations, and illegal vendors selling electricity, the load on municipalities' infrastructure becomes too high. Load reduction is not load shedding, it's more of a localized issue, whereas load shedding is a national endeavor to protect the grid. Load shedding is implemented by Eskom, while load reduction is implemented by metros or municipalities. With load reduction, a municipality or metro can cut electricity usage of households when it notices excessive power consumption within its area of jurisdiction. So this could be an entire city or just parts thereof. It's also less predictable than load shedding typically. There are also other measures such as load limiting that municipalities can implement. This relates to the maximum permitted current being reduced from 60 amps to, for example, 10 amps, which means there's still power but for fewer appliances. Load curtailment as another protective measure is based on an agreement between a utility such as Eskom or Johannesburg City Power and a business. With load curtailment, a business would agree to reduce production during certain periods to alleviate grid pressure instead of suffering from load reduction or load shedding.
The Minister has also indicated that his department plans to ramp up the procurement of renewables capacity.
To arrest this issue of escalating municipal debt, underinvestment and electricity theft, Minister Ramokgopa and his department is working with various municipalities, organizations like SALGA and other government departments to develop an electricity distribution and industry restructuring roadmap. This will involve a funding model to mitigate municipal revenue loss through distribution reforms and more uptake of renewable energy for large power users, as well as a reviewed electricity tariff model to enhance affordability. The Minister assured that his department is collaborating with municipalities rather than the department making an executive decision that becomes unimplementable for municipalities. The Minister also said that the distribution industry will undergo more modernization through smart meter installations, flexible grids, demand-side solutions and increased efficiency to bring down costs and to help municipalities to collect more revenue. Ramokgopa also foresees the possibility of an unprecedented scale of renewable energy bid windows to be rolled out, with the Ministry having learned from some of the failures of the previous bid windows that were not as successful. He referred to these bid windows as mega bid windows that will be rolled out to accelerate renewable energy development in the country. These kinds of investments should filter through to distribution, perhaps in the form of microgrids, which should help get the distribution industry in better shape. He did mention that by rolling out a 15 gigawatt bid window, for example, or rolling out a bid window that does not close, that's just open consistently, would put significant pressure on the grid. There are also other issues that experts have flagged, like uncompetitive pricing. So if there's no or not as much competition and bidders know they will win, they might not be as pressured to offer competitive pricing. On the grid issue, Eskom's latest generation connection capacity assessment finds that upgrading transmission infrastructure, this includes transmission lines and substations, would require 180 billion rand between 2022 and 2031. Eskom said that nearly 2,600 kilometers of transmission lines need to be built by the 2026 financial year, which is 73% more than what had been built in the past 5 years. With Eskom having its own debt issues, this becomes a tricky issue. The Minister previously hinted at a study being done about the financing model to expand the national grid, since Eskom's balance sheet won't be able to carry that. In the meantime, government is trying to tap into the $8.5 billion climate finance deal that was offered by the EU, Germany, France, the UK and the US, which could largely go to transmission investment. It also helps that the National Transmission Company of South Africa started trading earlier this month, which marked a move in Eskom's long-awaited unbundling. This entity now owns and operates the country's national transmission system and will trade with Eskom's generation business as well as IPPs, which should open up more private sector investment opportunities in the sector. The IPP office has suggested there may be scope for a similar agency to that of renewables procurement, specifically for investment in transmission. The Development Bank of Southern Africa has been quoted as saying that it is in talks with various government departments to establish such a dedicated transmission auction office. So we'll see.
Thank you. That's the Second Take Show for this week. Thank you for watching and join us again next time for more news analysis. Also, don't forget to listen to the audio version of our Engineering News Daily email newsletter.